What is up, everybody? Today I'm bringing you guys another Digimon tier list. Today I'm going to be ranking every single Vaccine Digimon until we can find the top 10 best Vaccine Digimon on the BE Memory for the Vital Bracelet Arena app. There's a lot of good Vaccine Mons. If you remember in the last one we did all the best Virus Mons. I think I've gathered all of the most competitive Vaccine Mons. We have things like Alphamon, Oryumon, Siriusmon, a bunch of the really good Mons here. So what we're going to be doing is going over ranking them in a top 10. I'm going to be explaining their abilities, some of the other Mons that are on their evolution lines, and just generally talking a little bit about why I'm ranking them, and where I'm ranking them. So if you guys like these sort of videos, you guys like these sort of tier lists, think about let me know in the comments below. And without further ado, let's start this off. I think I have like 18 total Vaccine Mons here, but not all of them are amazing. I think some of them are more fan favorites, kind of like the Shinmoizamon and even like the Phoenixmon over here are pretty fan favorites, but they're not really competitive. I think I'm going to start things off by putting the top line evolution from the Ryudomon dim. I think it's called like Oryumon, so it's going to be right over here. We're going to open up the Ryudomon dim and scroll all the way to the right. Now, I really like this thing, but its stats aren't amazing, and its ability pool is good, but I generally see this as a support mon in a lot of like draft leagues. So we got Oryumon right here. You can see its stats is 6600 BP, 5800 HP, 1900 AP. I see this thing very similar to how people like to play Imperial Digimon Dragon mode, and it has some pretty good abilities. We scroll all the way down to the Ryudomon dim. You can make this guy a big attacker using the Miracle ability, raise its own AP by 30% if you get an excellent, but I generally think it's one of the few mons that can actually use some of these like lower level abilities, like raises ally character by AP by 10%. It makes it a really good like support mon in draft leagues because it still has that really high BP stat for being able to close out games. So I would put this one in 10th. There are some mons that might be better, but this thing just kind of pops up and has a ton of versatility, really solid stat line, and its fusion makes Alphamon. So I think it's definitely deserving of being in the top 10. I would say I would like it more than things like, you know, Hercules Kabuterimon or even something like a Kazuchimon, which is another mon that's like a fusion requirement to Jogress. So I think out of all the mons that can Jogress or get better off their base forms, I think this is probably the best one. So going into the next one, I think I'm going to put Holodramon at 9th. Now Holodramon is also another really cool dim. I think this comes from the, is it DWR or Yellow? Let's find out if I'm right. And that is correct. It's in the D3 white and red, so it's gonna be right here. I use this a lot in draft leagues as well. Magnadramon, Holodramon, however you want to call it, 6400 BP, 6000 HP, 2000 attack. That's a great stat line, and it has a really good ally. I think its ability is really good. It's going to be able to increase its HP by, I think, 30% at the start of battle if you have an ally character same attribute. So on like double vaccine comps, this is like a really good dim. I think it's very solid. It's just that yeah, I mean, double vaccine comps are a little bit gimmicky, and while this is really good, you can still lose hard to like a double sap life core. There's a lot of things that do counter it. It has a good stat line. It's just that its ability is so one-dimensional, and while that is a good ability, I think that there might be some better options in terms of mons just have like way better stat lines and aren't tied into like such a one-dimensional playstyle. So that being said, we're going to go up into number 8, and I might be able to swap number 8, number 9, but I think I'm going to put Diminimon here at 8. I think it's a very good dim. It comes off of the Holy Wings dim, which is one that you don't see all that often. Let's just pull it up over here. Don't see that many mons from the Holy Wings dim, but there are a few on this list. So let's go all the way to the right here. So Diminimon right here. Not the most amazing stat line. Like 6350 BP is good, 57 HP is okay, 1900 AP is a little low, but its ability pool is where it really shines on this mon in my opinion. So if we scroll the way up over here, sorry, it's the Holy Wings dim right up here. So you can see raises own BP by 30% if own defense minigame score is excellent, which is really good because it has a very high base BP. So it's going to be having a 30% increased multiplier on an already really high number. So I think in terms of like BP, like tanks, this is a really good one if you were to surround it maybe with something from like the Draconic Blaze dim that can boost its HP, and then you have an ability to boost its BP. Really solid mon. A couple of these other abilities are also kind of nice if you were to pair it with some of these other ones to get a 15 or like, you know, 25% boost to some of these other stats. I definitely think it's a usable mon. I have a video coming out with it relatively soon. It definitely punches well above its pay grade for where you would think like a mon from like the middle of like the Holy Wings dim would punch, but it's definitely still a very solid mon. Up next, I think let's see, what are we going to do next? I think I'm going to put Grace Novamon at 7. Now, I feel like as the Rampage the Beast Dim goes, I feel like there are a lot of really, really cool mons on this dim. You know, you have like Mirage Galgamon Burst Mode. It's a data mon, so we're not talking about today, but this is one of the best mons in the game. Apollomon, another Vaccine Digimon. Very, very solid stats. This one I probably should be including in the list at some point. Maybe, you know, maybe I just put... Let's there you go. They're both there. Very, very solid mon. I know a lot of people like Apollomon as well. But if you were to take a look at why we're going to include Grace Novamon, yeah, let's just look at Grace Novamon. It has 5,500 HP, 2,100. So good attack, great HP, a little bit weak on the BP side, right? A little bit weak on the BP side compared to like Alphamon, who's still strong, and then has a little bit more BP. So they might actually end up being about the same. But I think that HP stat is so massive. If we were to take a look at abilities on the Rampage of the Beast Dim, scroll up a little bit here, we see like raises own AP by 25%. Both of those dims both have a 2100, which is really good. You also have like a little bit of like lifelink sap life stuff. So while Grace Novamon can't really utilize like the lifelink sap life stuff, it's just really good. You can also raise your own BP if you have an ally of a different type, which is, remember, its lowest stat. So I think it's a well-balanced mon. It's at the end of like the Jogresh tree, so I definitely think it's good. Like, you basically are taking an Apollomon and making it even better, fusing it with something else. So I like this mon a lot. It's one of my favorites, and I definitely have used it a lot in the past. So again, similar to the Minimon, I think it punches like higher than its pay grade is. So really, really solid mon, and yeah, I think Apollomon and it can tie at 7th. That's fine with me. Let's see, what are we going to do next? We're getting down to the good mons. I'm going to put this one here. I think it's like Ravmon Burst Mode. And I think this also comes from the Holy Wings Dim, right? So yeah, it's the Holy Wings Dim. So there's two different types of Ravmon here. So Ravmon base, it's like 58, 55, 1950. Solid stat line, nothing really special. But the burst mode version of that is going to be 68, 57, 2000. Really, really good. And it has that same ability where you're going to get a massive BP boost if you want it, right? So the fact that we have like massive BP stat, this is just like power creeping to Minimon, right? That's why it's basically on the list, but it's still a really, really solid mon. I would put it at 6th. I've yet to use this in like competitive battles, but I've seen it a lot, and I always struggle like dealing damage to this thing because it just tanks damage so well. Very, very solid mon, and yeah, great slot at number 6. Let's see. Number 5, I'm going to put Serious Mon there. And I think Serious Mon might even be maybe at 4. But if we take a look at Serious Mon here, it's from the Gamamon dim. We've talked about this before. It's a little bit of a dated dim, but like it has really good abilities and solid stat lines, right? So we got Serious Mon up here. And so it's a vaccine, like I said. So 62, 53, 19, great PP stat, usable enough AP stat, solid HP, the ability of the Gamamon line on the SSR ability, right, is going to raise your own HP by 25%. That's really, really good. So this guy ends up being like a solid middle of the pack mon. A lot of the mons we're seeing are increasing some of their stats if you meet a certain prerequisite, right? So a lot of the mons on like the Holy Wings dim, or even the white and red one, you have to have a vaccine teammate here, or you got to like get an excellent, or you have to, you know, do something else. For a Serious Mon, he just gets 25% HP. No problem, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So it's easy to play, it's solid, it's pretty nice into almost everything. So I think it's good at closing games out, it's good in the lead, it's good in the back. So solid mon, I would definitely put it at 5th. Definitely like the middle of the pack version of what is like considered competitive in my opinion. So let's see, we got number 4. I think I'm gonna put Shine Greymon Burst Mode there. This is gonna come from the Draconic Blaze dim. And so if we take a look at the Draconic Blaze dim a little bit, we can see there's 2 Shine Greymons on here. There's regular Shine Greymon, which is up at the top, and its stat line is 45, 6,000, 2,000. That's not that great. If we take a look at Burst Mode, he gets a big boost of that BP, 1,500 more in fact. So 6,000, 6,100, 2,100. This is like the same as like Mirage Galgamon kind of, but really, really good. If we take a look at the ability pool for the Draconic Blaze dim, you can raise your ally character's HP by 20%. You can use a little bit of lifelink. Even double guard is sometimes usable in some situations. So yeah, there's 2 forms of lifelink. You generally want to go with the 30% one right here. But yeah, very, very solid dim. One of my favorite dims in the game. And the dim itself, the Draconic Blaze dim. So very, very solid. I would definitely put this at 4. I might even put this at 3. You know, my team has it right now, like teamed up with Alphamon. So I definitely think it's a solid mon. And yeah, maybe it should be in top 3. But let's see. We're going into the top 3. The bronze medal. is gonna go to, there's not that many left. I think I'm gonna put Shakamon at number 3, and I think that a lot of people are probably gonna disagree with me. Feel free to let me know if you disagree with me. This is the Holy Wings Dim's fully evolutionized Jogress form. Yeah, so this is gonna Jogress with how do I even pronounce it? Like Xingwei Paimon, this thing right here. This and Dominimon, right? So if those two Jogress together, you end up with Shakamon. Very, very solid. 67, 61, 21. So you're getting massive, 30% boost to that thing's BP stat. I think this thing is so good. Medicine Draft Leagues. This is one of like the better Dims in the game. Maybe I should make a tier list ranking all of the Mons. But I do think it is a little bit one-dimensional. It can only really be played its one way. I'm not going to say it's a hog, but like it requires very specific support teammates, and it's really good. 2100 AP is solid HP stat, massive BP. If you're looking for things to like tank W attacks at the start of the game, this is going to be a very, very solid Dim. But there's a reason why it's not first. There's a couple reasons why it's not first. I would say a reason why it's not first is because I'm going to put Paladin mode Imperial Dramon at number 2. And there's one reason, well, 2 reasons why I'm going to be doing this, right? 2 reasons. If we take a look at Paladin mode, it comes from 2 different Dims. It can be in the Imperial Dramon Dim, right? At the end over here. You can look at this Imperial Dramon right here. 64, 55, 22, so higher attack than any other Dim that we've seen so far on this list. Acceptable HP, massive BP. But it can also be in, I think it's DWR. The end of DWR as well. Is it DWR or is it DW? It is DWR, yeah. So it's like it's in 2 different things, right? So it can get the same ability as like Holy Dramon, where you get the boost if you have the right, if you share the same attribute with your teammates. You can pair it with any of these other Vaccine Digimon and get a 30% boost with HP, which yes, it's its lowest stat, but like this BP and this AP are already so high, it's like one of the best Dims for that. And so the fact that you can include it with 2 different Dims that have 2 different, completely different like ability pools, raising your own like ally character's double attack damage or its own double attack damage, or even like being able to get the massive HP boost. I think because it can be so versatile and it's so like accessible for people, I'm gonna put it number 2. I also think it's just really cool. You don't really see that many mons that have like 2200 attack either. So very, very solid. Now there's one little guy that obviously goes at number 1, and that is going to be Alphamon, the Jogress version. Where did I put him? I just lost Alphamon. Where did he go? He's right here. I lost him. There he is. Alphamon's going to go at number 1, and both forms of Alphamon are good. You get Alphamon at the end of the adventure mode in the Dorumon Dim. That's where base Alphamon comes from, right? It's going to be right here. So base Alphamon, 63, 57, 21. That's better than most of the stat lines on the Mons we've seen. But what we're going to be talking about is the Jogress version. And that's Oryukin. So you Jogress this with basically the Oryumon that was at the number 10 slot here. 66, 61, 21, 50. Really, really good stat line. And because it's a Jogress between the Dorumon and the Ryudomon Dim, you get access to both of these ability pools, whichever one you want. If Alphamon is your main and Oryumon is your support, you'll Jogress into the Dorumon ability pool. If the Oryumon is your main and the Alphamon is your support, you'll Jogress into the Ryudomon pool. So this thing, similar to that Imperial Dramon Dragon Mode, it has 2 completely different like ways to play it. You can be the aggressive one or the defensive one, and I think that just makes like Alphamon really, really solid. I didn't want to include like base Alphamon in this list either, but it probably would have been like around here. But who would really just use base Alphamon when the Jogress Alphamon is an option? So that is my list. I'm going to leave a link to this tier list in the comments below, and I would like to know your tier list. If you guys have the time to, make your own tier list, let me know what your thoughts are. I wish that something like Heavy Leomon could have made the list, because that's one of my favorite, but I just don't think it has the right stats to pull it off. But I'm very, very interested in hearing your tier lists, and yeah, if you guys want to see me cover Datamons and Freemons in this tier list series, think about let me know in the comments, and other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Peace out. I'll see you guys next time.